Ever been listening to your favorite podcast and think, hey, I want to start my own? Then you need Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, everyone's favorite word, free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Audre Smith was born and raised by her grandparents in a quiet suburb of Little Rock, Arkansas. For Audre, life is great as it can be until the night of her high school graduation, where she escapes a near-death situation, but her grandparents are not so lucky. After being shunned and blamed for the death of her grandparents, Audre packed up everything she has left and moved to a city she knows nothing about. Years later, she's now in Florida and is living a quiet life, fearing that God has cursed her because the couple of men she has entertained have tragically left her life. Audre has finally settled into her life of being alone until Atraio Coleman stumbles into her life. A reformed thug, Atraio Coleman was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, but spent the better part of his life in the Marines until a freak accident caused him to be medically discharged. While trying to adjust back to civilian life, he gets back with his high school sweetheart, Chelsea Turner, hoping that she can bring some normalcy to his life, but she does everything but that, and it leaves him being a single father. Atraio and Audre met by chance, but it didn't go as planned because neither of them were looking for anything special. But the chemistry between the two is undeniable. When Audre feels herself falling for Atraio, she starts to pull back, not wanting him to get hurt or killed because of the curse she feels she has. Will Atraio let Audre push him out of her life, or will he fight to show her that he is the one made to love her? Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the Bibliophile's Bookcase. We are here for the last episode of the year, honey, literally on New Year's Eve. And let's just jump right into it because, honey, it is a whole lot. So the book is Made for Loving You by Bianca. Like I said before, if you saw my little bonus episode, I never had a chance to read this book when she was selling it on her website, but now, because it's on Amazon and I have the Kindle subscription, I jumped right on it. I love this book. Anyway, so let's start with the book starts with Audre Smith. We're getting her backstory. She was a baby born sick, and her parents didn't want to raise her, so they passed her off to her grandparents. And, she's had a rocky relationship with them ever since. She is a high school graduate. It's the day of her graduation, so, she's getting ready. But while she's getting ready, there's something going on with their house. Their house is an older house, and the wiring isn't working, or it's all messed up. So her grandmother, who she calls her grandparents mom and dad. So she tells her mom, I'm going to call the company again and get them to come out here and see if they can come out here today to see what's wrong with the house. And so they get that set up, and she goes on to her graduation. She was valedictorian, so she gave a beautiful speech, and everything is going good until at the end, her biological parents are there, and she's just looking like, why did they even show up? Because the dad tries to say something to her, but she completely ignores them. And she has younger siblings. The parents went on to have, I believe, 3 more children or 2 more children. And so that's another reason why she's upset with them, because it's like, you gave me away under the guise that you couldn't take care of me, but then you go on to have 2 more children, and it's like, you never try to give me back nothing. I'm just passed off as the one you didn't want. And so that ends badly. Although her dad is trying to tell her, don't let them upset you, rise above, all that stuff that people always tell you when it's like, no, I'm allowed my hurt feelings. Um, so she's on FaceTime with her boyfriend, who is also a valedictorian of his school, and he was working on his speech. And then the fire alarm goes off. So, she goes to check out what it is, and a fire has started in the house. So she runs back to her room and grabs a bag and, like, is stuffing the most important things that she could think of to grab in the bag. And then she goes looking for her parents, like, come on, we can jump out this window. Let's go. But they both tell her, like, we're too old. We might die if we jump out the window anyway. It's too much of a risk. You go ahead. We love you, but you go. Don't try to save us. And, she tried to fight a little bit, but they just laid in the bed and said, no, this is it for us. We love you. And it's like, do you know how... She's 18. Do you know how hard it is to make that decision? Because I can't... It's hard. Like, I thought about it, and I'm just like, would I have stayed in the house as well? Because it's like, if y'all not gonna make it, I'm not gonna make it either. Like, we just all gonna die together. Or do I do what they asking me, and I, jump out the window and leave them? And that's what she did. And so when she jumps out the window, though, I think the firemen get there, she passed out. So anyway, when she wakes up in the hospital, and her boyfriend is there, as well as two lawyers from that wiring company that she had called to come look at the house. And they're trying to ask her questions about what happened, and basically, like, get ahead of the story that it's their fault that the house caught on fire. And she was too calm for me. Because she was like, basically threatening them, like, I could get y'all in trouble for trying to bribe me, and I'm still in the hospital. And, they're called themselves trying to talk some sense into her, but she's like, you might want to go ahead and get on out of here, which they do. And I definitely would have exposed that, because it's just like my parents ain't even, like, have they got their bodies yet? Like, what do you mean you trying to, but, that's how companies are. They're all about the dollar and all trying to protect their reputation. And so, after she's released from the hospital, she goes to the funeral home. She has her parents cremated. And when she walks in the funeral home, her parents, what's that woman's name? Serene, and the father, Edward Sr., he don't never say nothing. He's just like, he's a real passive man. I'm not going to call him weak. I'm just going to say he real passive. He lets Serene do all the talking and all the hooping and hollering. And it's like, girl, these not even your parents. These are Edward Sr.'s parents. Because, yeah. I had to think about it. I was like, yeah. So they had Elias and Shantae. And you have Audre. Oh, no, Edward C. Okay. Anyway, don't even worry about it. They, where am I? I don't mess myself up. Serene. Sorry. Back to Serene. She is hooping and hollering like, you killed my grandparents. You killed my parents for the insurance money. It's not bad enough that they gave you a check. You had to kill them too. And when she woke up in the hospital, she was looking for that bag. I forgot to mention that. She was like, where's my bag? Where's my bag? And her boyfriend was looking at her crazy, like, what bag? There was no bag. And so for her to mention the check that her parents gave to her as a graduation gift, let her know that they got there, I guess, before the police did, and were able to snatch the bag, which I'm trying to figure out how that happened. Like, how were they there? Or, even when they got there, because no, I take that back. They don't have to be there before the police got there, but it's just like, oh, that's our daughter. We'll take her bag for her, and they let her do that. So, she's like, what check? Like, how do you know that? And it's like nobody knew because they gave it to her that night and it was inside the bag. So the only way you know that she got a check from them as a present is if you stole that bag. And so she's like, all I'm asking is for you to give me the pictures back from that night, but that would be too much, like, right? Because then you would have to admit that you actually stole the bag. So she's like, that's another thing on top of y'all already being shitty parents. You've also stolen from me now. So, that becomes the narrative around town that she killed her parents for the money. So she packs it up. Let me take that back. She does sue the wiring company and win, and gets a settlement of $8 million. And after she wins that case and gets that money, because she didn't share any of it with Serene and her brother and sister, that becomes the narrative that she killed them just for the money. And it's like, why? I don't get that. Like, family members, and it happens too many times, of people who don't do nothing for you, ain't never around, don't contribute to your life in any type of way, but feel like you owe them something, or feel like because you have so much money that they are entitled to some of it. Like, fam, y'all ain't took care of me all these years. I haven't stayed with y'all. Y'all ain't bought me not one meal. But because I'm the beneficiary and they loved me I don't want to say loved me the most. I'll say it. You feel like I just should give you something, but no. You've been mooching off them all these years, and now that you actually have to pay for something, now you're trying to make somebody feel sorry for you, and they don't. So, she packs up and moves from Arkansas to Jacksonville, Florida. And this is now, she was 18. She's now 28. So we're now 10 years later. And, she's living a quiet life just to herself. Now we are introduced to Atraio Coleman, who, he came from a 2-parent household. He had a brother and sister as well. He had a nice life until his father, who was a Marine, was killed overseas. So when that happened, the mom was trying to make it on her small salary that could not afford to take care of herself and 3 children. So Trey, as he's known, gets out in the streets and, he was selling drugs. He was breaking into houses. And one night he is caught by a policeman. So the policeman is trying to talk to him like, what's your name? You looking at 8 years and all that type of stuff. And at first, Trey's trying to play hard. But he's like, of course, once he gets him to the jailhouse, he's going to figure out his name. So when he tells him his name, the policeman pulls over to the side and yanks him out the car like, I know your father. He wouldn't want, what is you doing all this for? Your father would never want this for you. And he's like, my father can't provide in a grave. And he's like, what about the insurance money and the, life insurance? He's like, man, that ran out. It wasn't going to take care of us forever. So now I'm doing what I got to do. So the policeman tells him, you got 2 options. You can either go to jail for the night and then in the morning go sign yourself up for the Marines, or you'll be spending the next 6-7 years in jail. And so he's like, man, I'm not doing either one. And he's like, no, you're definitely, he punched him in his chest, I think, and in his stomach. And it's like, you're going to sign up for the Marine Corps. Like, you're going to do something with your life. And basically, that's what he did. And so, but, child, why, when he was in the Marines, overseas, saving up all the money, he had saved up $300,000, but he gave his mom, she had access to the money. It's like, if you ever need something, here you go. You can get into the account and make sure you get what you need. why the younger brother like caught himself following in his brother's footstep and trying to get out there and get it. And he keep going back to jail though. It ain't like you got caught one time and you turned your life around. It's like you got caught, got out, you keep going back. Like it's a cycle. And come to find out that the mama done basically spent $240,000 getting this boy in and out of jail. Well, I mean, getting him out of jail. You know what I mean? Like, he keep going back. She keep getting him out. So, of course, he ain't talking to his mama. Because he like, girl, are you serious right now? Like, I thought, if he ever did retire from the Marines, he had something to fall back on. He was going to start a company. He had things planned. And now he can't do none of that because all he left with is $60,000. And in the grand scheme of things, that ain't really too much money. So... And one day while he was out, I think in the field, somebody gun goes off on accident and the bullet like ricochets off of something and hits him in the knee. So he had to go get surgery, and after the surgery, they're not letting him back. He's being honorably discharged. So that messed him up even more. So it's like, I can't get back out there and try to save some more money. I'm basically just asked out. Like, of course, while he was in the Marines, he got 3 degrees, so it's like, he's not stupid. He has something to fall back on. But what I've heard many Marines say is like, you get used to it. Like, that is your life. So you just basically stay in till you can't no more. And right now he can't, even though he doesn't want to give it up. So, and Trey is 35, I believe. So now that he's back home, he runs into his high school sweetheart at the store, and she's like, here's my number, let's hook up. And that was when he first got home. We're now like almost a year later, and him and Chelsea had a baby, so he now has a daughter. But when he first got home, because I'm getting ahead of myself, he went to see his sister and told her, I need to crash on your couch till I can get myself together, but I'm not going to be there long. I just need to find me a job and I'm going to get a place and, boom, bow. It's whatever. Her sister is an accountant. So when he was walking out, he ran into a woman. Now, he doesn't know it, but it's Audre Smith, and she's just sad all the time because she's had 2 boyfriends since she moved to Florida, and they both have been killed. So she's just sad all the time. So that was their first encounter. So the next encounter is the funeral of the second boyfriend that was murdered. And I think he tries to offer her a tissue or something like that, but she just says that she's not interested. So they really don't get to talk then, but he's just so intrigued by her. And their third encounter is Audra and her best friend Portia at a bar. Like, they're drinking, and across the bar they see Trey and a friend of his named Haran. Now, Haran was also in the Marines, but he has also been honorably discharged. And so, like, it's like a friend hookup thing. Like, Trey goes over to talk to Audra, and Haran talks to Portia. Now, Portia is married to a woman, and Haran is also married. He's married to his young love. They've been together since they were 14, but things aren't going good right now because his wife moved out after he had an episode, even though he doesn't like to acknowledge it, but he actually has PTSD, and he wakes up in cold sweats, and he choked her out one night. So after that, she's like, I'm taking the kids and we're leaving and you have to get some help. But he doesn't want to actually talk to a therapist about this because then he would have to admit that he has a problem. But she tells him, his wife, Haran's wife, we will never get back together unless you take the steps to get help. And going to get help, he runs into Portia again because she's the like the receptionist. She was sitting at the desk while he was waiting to talk to the therapist. And so they become friends in that sense of whenever he needs somebody to talk to, or he finds himself waking up in a cold sweat, Portia is there instead of his wife. Like, she's never around now when he needs her. When he asks her for her help, she won't respond, or she has an excuse for everything. And it's just like, wow. And so Audre, she keeps running from him. Like, anytime he tries to talk to her, because she thinks that she's cursed, she just won't talk to him at all. She just refused. She lets it go. And so then we have, okay. Sorry, y'all. I got a little commotion going on in my background. And so we have Trey, like I said, Trey and Chelsea have a baby, and he believes that she's going through some postpartum because she won't interact with the baby, she won't hold the baby. It's just really, she wants nothing to do with the baby. She'll leave, and he's taking care of the baby all on his own, and she's upset at the fact that he won't marry her or move in with her. But he told her, like, even before they had the baby, that's just not where he is. And he doesn't want to do that. So it's just like, even you having this baby was not going to change my mind about that. So I'm sorry if you did this thinking that it was. And she's like, I've had this thought in my mind since I was in high school that we were going to get married and all this stuff. And he's like, well, so sorry, girl, but I told you what it was, so I don't understand how you're shocked about this. And one night he gets a phone call from, nope, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So let's switch over to Audre. Audre has been trying to have a baby, but she can't. And that goes back into a flashback of before she left for Florida. Her and her high school boyfriend, they were still going strong. He was her support system, and she was pregnant, but she had a miscarriage, and then she found out that he was cheating, and he stole like almost $200,000 from her. So after that, she packed up without saying anything, and she left. Because she's like, I can't deal with this. You were like the last person that I could count on, and look at what you're doing. So she left. And since then, she had tried to get pregnant with the first boyfriend, and she couldn't. And then when she met the second boyfriend, as soon as they got together, they started trying to have a baby. And when it wasn't working, they also stored up a lot of his sperm for insemination to just keep trying, and it never worked for her. And she was at the doctor's office using she had used the very last of the boyfriend's sperm, and it still didn't take. So she's crying and boo-hooing and very sad. And when she walks out, she runs into Trey with the car seat. So she finds out that he has a baby, and it was weird though, because it's like, for them to have never, they still don't know each other like this. He has her sit down with him and go back into the doctor's appointment with him, and that kind of brings them closer together in a sense of him seeing her with the baby. So then, because what? He has his baby. Okay, then that leads up to where I was going with that. My bad. So one night, he gets a call from Haran. It's a bad night. He needs somebody to sit with him. He needs somebody with him. And so Trey gets up and, starts packing up the baby. Well, first, he goes to Chelsea. Like, I need to go see about my friend. Like, he's not doing so well. can you take the baby? Whose name is Karina. And she's like, you not finna leave this house trying to go be with one of your hoes, so and you not taking my baby out this late at night, so I guess you just stuck. And he like, man, you got me fucked up. So he, walks back out the room, start getting the baby dressed, and she coming out there doing all that hooping and hollering like, I told you you wasn't taking my baby nowhere. So it's like, okay, then take your baby. Like, take her then. You said she can't go out at night or go out tonight because it was raining really badly. So take her so I can go check on my friend. Like, this ain't no woman. This is my friend. And we not together, so I don't even have to explain that to you for real. I'm being real courteous about it. And so, he done got the baby dressed. He like, man, whatever. We not even finna go through this. And so as he's walking out the door with the baby, she pushes him, which, he's so much better than me. Because when I tell you, I would have turned around and like broke her jaw. Because it's like, but which he does, like, after he get the baby in the car, he turned around and he yoke her up, because he like, if you would have made me fall down and drop my baby and like land on my baby, I would have whooped your ass. And so she's like, whatever, I'm going da 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 da. He's like, man, I ain't got time for this. So anyway, he called in a favor to I forgot what that man's name was. Like, somebody he was cool with in the army. And he got a file on Audre. So he read up on her. He know all about her. And so, even without them still being cool, he ain't got her phone number, none of that. This nigga pulls up to her house. Yes, to her house. And says, I'm so sorry, but I need you to watch my baby while I go check on my friend. And it's just not safe for her to be around because I don't know what I'm walking into. So it's just like, huh? And what's it like? How does this make sense to you? Because you don't even really know her. Because while he's taking her over there, he's saying to himself like, I hope she's not crazy and I ain't gotta beat her ass about my baby. So it's like, exactly, you don't know her, so why are you dropping her off to a lady that you don't know? You don't know if she gonna run off with the baby or nothing. But she's like, yeah, of course, leave her here. I'll take care of her. You go check on him and see what's going on. And so he does. He leaves out and he goes to Haran's place. And Haran is sitting there like with a whole bottle of liquor that's empty. And before they can even get into their conversation, good, there's a knock on the door. It's Portia. So Portia's there to check on him. And he stands up like, oh, I can't believe you came. They hug. So Trey is like, oh, I guess I can, slide on out then. Let me go ahead. And he goes back to Audre's house. And she told him, like, there's a key up under the mat. Let yourself in. There you go. Now, also, I'm telling you, like, the story is a lot, y'all. I'm sorry if I'm jumping all over the place, but it's just so much information that I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So with her not being able to have children, when she turned 21, she applied to become a foster mom. So, and she was approved, and there was a young man by the name of Lamar that has been in and out of her place. He'll be adopted, and but he never likes where first of all, he was being abused by his parents, and they had like got themselves together enough to where he had to go back with them. But then he showed up to her house with 2 black eyes, and he was right back with her. And it's just been that way for years. I think the first time he was 10, if I'm not mistaken, and now he's 16. So he always comes back to her. He loves her. And it's like, he can't be without her. And so, but she never fully like adopted him. Like he comes and stays with her, and it is what it is, but it's never him fully being able to stay with her. And when he sees Trey, he's upset because he just thinks that she's going to like push him to the side and not care about him anymore because she now has Trey. And it's like, as things are progressing between the couple, Trey and Lamar, they start getting closer, and he's like, Trey is training him for football. I forgot about that. Because he's like, I want to get bulked up for football, because he's like a skinny little thing. And then she gets a call, Audre does, from the caseworker, like there is a baby that was born with drugs in their system, and they're available for adoption if you want her. And so she's thought about it, and she tells Trey about it, and she takes Lamar out to dinner. She was trying to take him out to dinner alone so she could talk to him about it, but he invited Trey along. So when they're at the dinner, she tells him, this is a situation with the baby, and I'm thinking about adopting him. What do you think? And when he heard that, my man was hurt. He was like, how you adopt? So you're going to adopt this baby, but you won't never adopt me? Like, make that make sense. And so he gets up and walks away. But Trey goes after him and talks to him and brings him back in. And he apologizes, and he's like, I didn't mean to walk out on you like that, but, how come you don't want me, man? And I'm sorry. So sorry. It just fits so perfectly. Like, how come you don't want me, man? And she tells him, like, you never asked me to adopt you. Like, if you would have asked me, like, baby boy, we would have been done. And so, they make it clear that she's going to be adopting him and, the little girl, and they're going to be like one happy family. And Trey has just inserted himself into this situation. And so now, they're going together, and they adopted this little girl together. So they just became a ready-made family, like, really quickly. And Portia and Haran keep doing this back and forth thing, because it's like he loves his wife, he wants to be with his wife, he's not leaving her. But then he finds out that the wife is actually cheating on him, because it's like she would just be lying, not really saying nothing, but it's just like avoiding him, and he didn't have real proof until one night she lied on the kids. And so he sat outside until a car pulled up, and as soon as the car pulled up, he looks inside, and she in the back seat giving this man head. So he hops in the front seat, goes in the man's glove box, pulls out a gun, and like holds it up to both of them, and makes her continue giving him head until he like pushes her down onto him, and she throws up on him, and just walks out. So after that, he's done, which I found so disgusting, but I was just like, ugh. That was, like, reading that, I was like, that's so gross. But yeah, he was tired, he was fed up, he couldn't believe that she would do that to him, although he cheated on her a few times. And I guess, of course, women are just supposed to take it and let it be what it is. You can't be upset about a man cheating, but when you cheat on a man, whew, baby. But we already know how I feel about that. We ain't even gonna go back down that road. And so she's starting to act like Chelsea. She is Boo-Boo the fool. She want to know where he at, what he doing, what time he gonna be there, how long he gonna be there, who was he with, let me smell your dick, what you doing, who in your background? She pops up to his job. Like, all of a sudden, every time he asked her to be somewhere, she could never be, but now she could be there. She all up and through there, acting like wife of the year. And he really not paying her no attention because, he is now really focused on Portia. Like, they have great chemistry. It's really working for them. And so, but he also tells her that they can't be together because she wants kids. He had a vasectomy. He's like, I got my 3 kids. My son is about to go to college. Like, I can't be what you want. And basically, like I said he's not leaving his wife. So not only is he not leaving his wife, he don't want to have kids, any more kids. So it's just like, what are we doing here then? Nothing. So, all right, adios. But just like a nigga too, the moment she goes on a date with somebody else, that nigga couldn't take it. He was like, a date. But even before that though, right? Let's talk about how Audre and her family, baby, it was a mess. So come to find out that the house that her biological parents were staying in was actually owned by the grandparents, but like I said, they was free loan off them and they didn't have to pay no rent. So but when she found that out and she took over the property, she told them they either had to pay rent or they was gonna get out. So every month it was a situation of them not sending her the money through Cash App, so she would call and say, y'all ain't paid, so I'm coming down there to kick y'all out. And she actually does make the trip one time. Girl rented a jet and everything to go down there. And basically, like, she fought with her mom. She punched her sister, and then she went to the empty lot where the house used to be and just cried her little heart out. Then she went to the cemetery to see her parents and cried with them because she hadn't been there in a while. And she's just getting all these emotions out because she's just like, it's been so long and I really let them get to me and I don't know why I let them get to me. Child, it was a mess. And so, but when that was all said and done, Trey tells her, I think you need therapy. Like, you really need to get this worked out. You need to go speak to somebody about this and let it be known what's going on with you. And he did it in a way that I don't like. I've made my stance very clear. I do not like the, you gotta let that hurt go. You holding on to it. You just, yeah, but what about and it's just like when people try to make excuses for the person who's doing the wrongdoing against the person who's being wrong, it's just like, I don't want to hear that. I don't care what their situation could have been, because even after all these years, they are my parents and they just refuse to reach out a helping hand my way. Like, no, I'm on her side. I'm like, I don't care. But anyway, so she does start going to therapy, and her therapist is Miss Kendra Black. And if you know who Kendra Black is, yes, honey. Anyway, so, she talks to her about it as well, and she tells her that she's having a family retreat, and to invite her family so they can get it out in the open of what's going on. So she makes the call to invite them, but of course the mama has been a little bitch. Like, we ain't got no money. I ain't coming out there to no therapist so they could tell me that I just been doing you wrong all this time. I'm not coming out there. I don't want to. It's just like, oh, okay. You're not coming. Okay, cool. You're not coming. Whatever. So she hangs up with her, like, and tells Trey, you see, I tried. She didn't accept. So here we go. And he's like, yeah, I hear you. But then her phone rings back and it's her father. And he's like, what was your phone call just about? Like, what's up? And she tells him the same thing. And he's like, I would love that. Like, yes, please. I would love that. And she's like, but he basically says the same thing. Like, we ain't got no money. We can't make it out there. And she's like, I know. Y'all ain't never got no money. Exactly. But I'm paying for it because I want this to happen. So, they get to the retreat. Whoop-de-whoop. And, of course, it's what she thought it was. Serene don't want to take responsibility for nothing. She refuses to let it go. And it's just like, why did y'all give her up and then go on to have more children? But Serene tells her that, her and the father were actually doing drugs when she had her. So that's why she was born premature, because she was doing drugs, and that's when the grandparents took her. And later on down the line, she did try to get Audre back, but basically the grandparents refused and didn't think that she would be a good parent. So to prove them wrong, that's when she went on to have 2 more kids. And then it's the thing about when she was 7, she heard her parents arguing with her biological parents about them giving her, the parents are giving the biological parents money to take her on a trip a certain weekend, and when that weekend came, they had already went on the vacation. And I guess this is news to the dad, the biological father, because he turns to Serene and it's like, I asked you why we couldn't take her and you never really gave me an explanation. And all she tells that grown-ass man is, don't question me. And I guess he doesn't, because he don't say nothing else. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell. And so she tells the therapist, like, she's had it made up in her mind that she hates me a long time ago. So I really don't care, and it just is what it is. And Audre says, at this point I'm fed up. They won't acknowledge what I've been through, all the things that has happened to me. And the father made the mistake of asking her, what has she been through? She turned to that nigga and said, excuse the fuck out of me. What have I been through? And, she just runs down her whole life history. And it's just like, the main thing is, y'all accuse me of killing my parents. I have to deal with that, of people thinking that I killed them just for some money. Thinking that I didn't try to save them when I did. Like, I didn't tell them that I was going to help them jump out the window, and they looked me in my face and said, no, baby, you go. We going to stay here. Y'all wasn't there. Y'all don't know shit about what I've been through. About what I had to experience that night. About the fact that y'all came and stole my check and was living off that money. Or the fact that y'all fight with me every month about not paying me money and just living y'all life like y'all just get to live rent-free with no problems. Like, come on now. Or about the fact, like, all the other stuff she was going through, like how the 2 boyfriends died, miscarriages, the insemination not working. Like, don't try to make it seem like my life just was easy just because I got some money. And so, child. Then she ran outside, she threw up. And it's just like, I can't do this. So Serene left, but the dad and the brother and sister stayed, because they're like, finally realizing, like, okay, yeah, this has been fucked up for a while. Let's work this out. And so, because what was that? Like, the little retreat thing, that was the end of the book. But the epilogue was, come to find out that her and Serene, like, they still ain't talking like that, but they will say happy birthday and, like, happy holidays, whatever the occasion is. But her and the other family members are actually in a group chat now. They're family now, basically. And her and Trey got married. They had a baby, because he had her take a pregnancy test, like, after she had threw up that night. But it was actually 2 pregnancy tests. And they both came back negative. But come to find out, she actually was pregnant, but it was just too early to tell. So they now have 4 children, starting with the oldest, Lamar, I believe Karina, and then the baby that they adopted, her name was Adira, and then baby AJ, because it was a boy and he was named after Trey. And which, I'm not a writer. I was just gonna say. But kind of what I wish would have happened was Bianca just left it as her being the adoptive mother or the foster mother, like that type of thing. Because it's like, of course, she could have kids because she had the 2 miscarriages, so she could carry a baby. But I kind of just like the thought of her, like, I created my family. This is my family. We got Lamar, who ain't never going nowhere, and the 2 babies. Like, you had 2 baby girls that you was raising at one time. So that could have been enough for her. But I understand her wanting to have her own baby. And another thing that it was kind of crazy because it was her, like, when her and Trey did agree to be together, she was calling, like, every hour or, like, every 10 minutes, like, where you at, what you doing? Are you okay? Like, just making sure that he's okay. Oh, shit. See, that's what I'm talking about. So much stuff happened in the movie. So, before, like, the therapy and the retreat and shit and all that, she had got dressed because she was congratulating Trey on opening his own, like, private investigator company, right? And Trey and Lamar was like out getting a haircut, and she had went and got her hair flat ironed. But anyway, she just had a feeling in her gut that something was wrong. Child, why did she get a phone call from Lamar that Trey had been shot? And her world was just, whew, she passed out. It was a mess, child. But come to find out later at that dinner, because they had the dinner like 2 days later, and Chelsea showed up trying to act the fool, and Audre told her, like, girl, you already know how my left hook worked, because when she agreed to adopt the baby girl, her, Trey, and Lamar and Karina had went shopping, and while they was in this while Audre had took the baby to the bathroom, somehow Chelsea was there, and she just tried to snatch the baby from Audre. So, Audre, like, punched her in her mouth and pushed her away, because it's like, she ain't never met Chelsea, because Chelsea wasn't never around. It's like, yeah, this your baby, but don't nobody really know, because you ain't never there. So, but when she shows up to this dinner trying to act a fool, Audre told her, like, girl, you already know how my hands work, so I don't think you want to act a fool up in here. So, what you trying to do, sweetheart? And they got engaged. What was that? Yeah, they got engaged like the night he got shot, because he was like, I love you, even though you crazy, even though you whoop-de-whoop, 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 you mine. Because she was just listing a whole bunch of stuff like, but this. And he like, okay, and I accept all that. So what's up? Like, it really don't make me no never mind. We gonna do this or not. And so they did, and in the end, she was like, just thank you for loving me and putting up with me. And he's like, of course, that's what I was made to do, is to love you and to take care of you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this all over the place review as the last episode of 2021. And I will see you guys in 2022. Happy New Year's. Peace and blessings, my beautiful people. Peace.